What's happening from New York City? How's everybody doing out there? I hope you're all staying safe and I hope you're all staying healthy. Today's video tutorial that I'm going to do, or shoot, I'm super excited about. It's a straight razor. I'm going to do a razor bob with graduation and a little bit of layering so that we can look at different hand positions, different head positions, and different techniques in utilizing a straight unguarded razor. Couple of things. I want to talk about the tool before we get started. I want to talk about certain aesthetics because the razor, it's an amazing tool. You can do a lot of different things with it. You can create a lot of cool texture. You can create some really seamless type of movement. It's really a beautiful tool, but to understand how to utilize it correctly and not get hurt, and not hurt the hair are all a lot different than when we're operating with scissors. So, step number one, let's talk about the tool. Pro tip. First pro tip, if you notice, there's already a rubber band around the razor. Worst cut I ever got from the razor was actually when it wasn't banded. It was open in my drawer with my tools. I reached in to get it. I almost had to go to the hospital because I got my finger that deep. Always keep your blade closed. I would highly recommend keeping a rubber band around it because when we're walking around the salon and we're jamming and we're moving and client to client to client or whatever the case may be, we may not be present to that, and this razor is sharp. So if you even nick yourself, you're gonna get cut, and if you go into it mindlessly, you can really hurt yourself. So really have a lot of respect for this tool. As much as respect as we have for scissors, have even more for this because of the sharpness of it and because of how easily and how profoundly it could actually cut you and injure you. Okay, so that's number one. So there, we're about to get started. Boom, remove rubber band. Throw off camera. Fantastic. Let's talk a little bit about the tool. So the tool. We have a couple of key points that I want to make very clear. When we're looking at the blade, we're looking at the heel. We're looking at the heel, which is the back end of it. We're looking at the flat, which is the major portion of it. And we're looking at the tip, which is the very tip of it, okay? Now, why this becomes relevant, Una, come over here a little bit. This becomes relevant when we move as a right-handed cutter. When I move to the left-hand side, I will be using the heel. When I move to the right-hand side, I will be using the tip. Okay, heel, tip, heel, tip. And that's the way that'll work so that we're actually getting the maximum efficiency and effectiveness, blah, 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 of the tool that we're utilizing, okay? I think that that's really important. When we use the flat, we can use the flat in other areas. There's a really cool way that you can melt hairlines using the flat because it's a maximum amount of coverage and it will remove the maximum amount of weight as well. Okay? And I think that's just really important to note before we even get started. Second thing to get started, and close the blade, and hold the blade. Do you understand how cautious I'm being with this? Very important. Shooting a tutorial and having this and waving it around, it's like maybe not. You want to be very cautious. Cool. Now, when we're talking about the head that we're working with and the hair that we're working with, I'm doing this on a mannequin. Great tool to utilize when actually when learning the body mechanics and the strokes and how to blend the hair initially. So that when you get your first models in, as you expand your learnings, then you're not going from nowhere. It's just a tool, and handling itself can be awkward. It's a good place to work it out on a mannequin before you get to the person. So you'll still have tons of learns with a human being and cutting them when you get those first models in, but at least you won't be starting from nothing because just holding the tool is its own journey. Let alone any like lines or graduations or layering that you may be doing. All right. So on this mannequin, a couple of things that are important. One, hair. You know what? Let me back it up so I can move forward. I learned razor cutting from a number of different people in a number of different organizations in a number of different ways. I have made an amalgamation of all of these things that I have learned genuinely from masters. And I figured out what works best for me, okay? I have solid reasons why I would do things in certain respects, as I'm sure you might know with my grounding in technique and fundamentals and the way I cut hair and the way I teach cutting hair. I want to be super clear on this. The things that I share with you, this is my way of doing things, and the things that I found really useful in helping me to do it well, accurately, and achieve the looks and the effects that I would like to with this tool. So this is a number of different things I'm going to be putting in here, and every single thing that I do, I'm going to be speaking to why I would do it and how it serves me in my work behind the chair and in teaching it. Cool? Cool. All right, so, and we're back. So when we're dealing with the head, number one, I personally never razor dry hair. Very important for me. Anytime I start razoring dry hair, I can feel it damaging hair. You can feel, you're like, it's like, oh my God, no, right? So it may be an illusion. I don't like the way it feels, not what I do. I do all of my razor work with it wet, right? Quite wet, actually. And once it starts to dry, I'll dampen it down some more so that the blade has a lot of slip and it doesn't get caught. And it allows me to create the type of line that I want. It allows me to have the amount of control that I would like to have. And it allows me to, in my opinion, actually not damage the hair as much as possible. Two, I will always put some sort of a light hold product in it. Right now, I have a little spray volumizer in it, not because I want volume, but because I want to, after I do my initial section, I'm going to have my second section go on top of that. Now, because unlike scissors, I can't cut on the skin, and I have to cut in my fingers in a different kind of way, what winds up happening is that product helps the guide section stick to the cutting section so that I don't lose track of my guide, and I can be very precise in what I'm doing, even with a tool that's supposed to create looseness and texture. I do find that no matter what, no matter how textured I do a haircut, no matter how loose I want the look to be, everything needs to be founded in structure and technique. Can't just start razoring hair the way I feel like doing it. Why? Because if I do that, then the client isn't able to style their own hair, and it just becomes something that grows out awkwardly. There's a number of different reasons why I wouldn't do that. So either way, I want to make sure that I'm still grounded in where's my guide, where's my lengths, where's this, where's that. I always want all of those same principles that I would utilize with scissors. I want those with the razor too. It just looks a little bit differently because of the nature of the tool and because of the way that we need to handle it. 3, and I think that, or 4, I don't even know what number I'm at now, but here we are. The next thing, right? Types of hair to razor. Listen, I guess you could razor whatever hair you want to razor. And the issue often becomes the angle that the razor is going at the hair, which I'll discuss when I actually get into the work. I will share this personally. I tend not to razor hair that is already frizzy. I don't mean curly. I razor curly hair all the time. It's an amazing tool to work with curly hair. All right, so we're clear. But not frizzy hair. Different type of situation. I just want to be super clear with that. Another type of hair that I tend not to razor, damaged or sensitized hair from color, different types of treatments, straighteners, whatever the case may be. That type of hair, it's a little too brittle for my taste, and I find that the bluntness that scissors create when dealing with that type of hair texture works better than the looseness and the type of way at a diagonal that this razor tends to cut hair at. I notice that it tends to really harm the cuticle, and it actually roughs up the hair more. So unless that kind of rough look is what I'm looking for, which quite frankly, not many clients that I have in the salon are particularly looking for that. I'm not saying never. I'm just saying most. And so in that basis, I tend not to use it in those types of hair textures. So ultimately, too, to add to that, and now mind you, from a gray hair perspective, there's a lot of different types of gray hair, right? You got silver hair, silver gray hair. You got the type of hair that can have a little bit of a yellow cast to it, all the different type of stuff. You can also have really smooth, sleek gray hair, and you can have gray hair that comes in, and as it comes in, it actually becomes more wiry or more coarse or more frizzy than the original hair that had color on it, natural color, not painted on color, yeah? Now, gray hair as a generalization, I will tend not to use it on the type of hair that gets coarser, wirier, and frizzier. Gray hair that's silky and everything. It's like, live your life. Cool. So that's just a couple of tips on different like whens and whys and hows that I might say before I even start touching anything with hair. All right. Now, again, like I was saying, just to introduce one more time, because I had to give so much technique about the tool and my thoughts before I even see all the things you have to think of before you pick up this tool, before you utilize it. Really, so it's a thoughtful thing, right? All the tools we use are thoughtful things. This is how we create our art. And this one that I'm introducing to all of you is particularly unique on a number of different levels, and all of those things play a factor into my decision to utilize it or not to utilize it. All right. So when I prep the hair, I told you about the water, told you about the little bit of product that I will use so that the guide section sticks to the cutting section. Next thing, I'm going to be cutting a razor bob again with graduation, so I'll be utilizing a little horizontal elevation, and at the end I'll be putting a little bit of layers to the top. Why am I doing this? I'm doing this so that I can actually exemplify a number of different type of techniques to all of you, and you can see how they'll all work, and then you can take, you know, the idea of the way I tend to layer hair, you take that and make it your own. The way I do the horizontal elevation, you can take that and make it your own. Same thing with the line. Okay, so I wanted to give you a little bit of length, layers, lines, and graduation so that you can actually take all of those things and begin to play with them and create on your own. Cool. So I'm also going to be doing it with a center balance so that we just keep it really simple as far as sectioning, because this is going to add as much adventure as we might want to this entire situation. All right, so it's sectioned out. I have it sectioned out right to left, and I have it sectioned out front to back, as I always do. Really important. I definitely, when it comes to the razor, the amazing thing about it is it really works with the way the hair wants to live. That's the main thing about razor, and density removal as well as movement in a looser, softer type of shape. So these are all elements that are in the razor. Why this becomes relevant. When we're sectioning out here, really pay attention. What wants to live in the back and what wants to live in the front, right? Really shake it around a little bit and see how it separates and section it from that place. And just to reiterate the point, when I section it, the front from the back, I always end at what would be the mastoid process bone, which is this bone right here. That's what separates what wants to live in the front from what wants to live in the back in any haircut. And I'm definitely mindful of this one because of the looser, softer nature of it. I want to make sure that I'm honoring what the hair wants to do and not trying to force it to do something else. It's one of the beautiful things about the razor is that we're able to do that. A lot less forcing, a lot more naturalness behind it. So, already sectioned out, head upright. Job number one. I will tilt the head forward so that I can actually execute my technique properly. All right? Because I've been yapping so long, I actually need to re-wet the hair a little bit so that I can move through this back fluidly for all of you. There we go. No more yapping. It is show time. Okay, great. So, now, one thing I'm going to do for this is I'm going to wind up doing a mix of closing my blade to resection, and I may section it with it open. Highly recommend. I'm actually going to be closing it more because I want to show you the example that I think that you should do when you're first learning with this tool, which is take your section, close the blade. Before you take the section, you want to close the blade, take your section, reopen it, go to cut. All right? Really, in truth, the most times people tend to get cut with this razor, it actually isn't in the utilization of it, it's with the opening and the closing of it. So if you're trying to do it with one hand, if you leave it open and all this stuff, you want to be really mindful about what you're doing, and that's a good practice. Because when we're with scissors, we talk and we're scissors, like, see what I just did? If the razor's open, that don't work. Okay, so again, to be mindful of what we're used to doing and what we're learning to do with this new tool, it's really important to have that mindfulness as a practice so that you don't wind up hurting yourself using this new tool, and you can actually have some fun playing around with it. Okay, cool. So, first thing I do, right, I got my guide section set up. I will divide this in half. Now, the next thing I do is I will bring my section to my desired length. I'm thinking I'm going to kind of go for it a little bit. I'm not going to do one of the lobs. I'm going to do like a real bob so that we can really see some graphic nature in the shape, yeah? Okay, so here, really controlling it with my fingers, right? Very tight control there. There. Now see, with the heel, now with this first, we're going to talk about stroke. This is going to be what I call a tighter stroke because this is actually going to be my line. So I want to have some substance behind that line, so I'm going to use a tighter stroke as opposed to a wider stroke, which I will open up as I move up the head, all right? So here we go. There. See how much I could control? Now see, I'll hold it. That's how I know that my technique is on point. See that? See how my feet are staying stationary. Una, do me a favor. Go onto this side. Okay. See how I'm over-directing this back? I'm not going over here. I'm over-bringing it back here. I don't want a rounded shape. So remember, I've shared this in other tutorials. I will share it again. Feet control shape, hands control technique. I want a nice square line, maybe even a little A-line so that it actually falls square. So I need my feet to be really stationary when I'm dealing with the back so that I don't inadvertently round this end. The other thing, as this is open, if you notice, I operate it a little bit like a pencil. All right, look at the way I'm holding it, right? Index finger in what we call, I believe it's the fulcrum. Then my middle finger is at the joint. And everything is behind it, and I hold it very loosely, like a pencil, all right? So then, see, when I operate it, look at this finger. This is where a lot of the movement is here. Okay? It's not, I tend not to do my razor work like that. It's pretty aggressive. I'm not saying never, again, but I tend to more be a little bit tighter with it. Or more controlled with it. I won't say tighter, I'll say controlled with it, okay? And then I'll always check the section I just cut because that's how I can check the accuracy of what I just did, okay? Cool. There. Then I will take a little bit from the right-hand side, a little bit of the guide that I just cut. There we go, I can see it. And then with the tip of my blade, technique on point. A lot of hair to vacuum after this, Una. Anyway, all right, there we go. See, again, my feet are staying stationary. There we go. I know that's right. There we go. And I'll always want to check that balance before I move on. Okay, that's, no, you know what? I'm going to hold myself accountable. Although I can clean that up after I'm done too, right? A lot of times when I do razor work, I'll run through, like, are there any like loosies at the end after I'm done doing my work? I'll get those with scissors, you know, just clean up. Not to create a new line, not to create a new technique, but just to make sure that everything is lined up in case of the client wants to flat iron and you really see what's going on. It can't be too jumpy. I always want my clients to have the ability to wear their hair in multiple different ways, whether they want to wear it looser, wanded, or flat iron. I always want it to hold up no matter what. All right, cool. Next thing, razor closed. I will demo one razor open section, but I don't want to start like that. Let's take it easy. You know what I'm saying? Let's go slow, right? So now I have one side down. I'll do one side at a time. I do this, then I'll take this and that, and that, and that. And then when I get to the ear or right above it, I will actually wind up unifying front and back so that it moves in one fluid section, which you will see shortly. All right, so now this section right here. This will be a little bit of a start of where I start widening my stroke, okay? Now this is super relevant because what it's gonna do is it's gonna start creating a little bit of that graduation without me elevating anything. The elevation will come in a little bit later, okay? There, right? Now you're on top. Everybody with me? See the guide behind? Now watch. And I'll tighten it a little bit more at the end. See that? because now I'm getting behind the ear. So I can be more aggressive, and then I tighten it over there. So there, and there's my technique. Right, so I'll do that so that I have more looseness in the center where there's more density, moving to less looseness in the outside where I need to account for the ear situation. So I don't necessarily want to do that, okay? Then the next thing that I might do in this section, and this is a density issue, is I'll do a little bit of notching. Takes out a little bit of the density and adds to the swing and the texture. You can do this more, you can do this less. Clearly, the more you do it, the more texture you'll create. Now, the other thing that you notice, or perhaps not, but let me bring it to your attention, is when I'm operating this razor, I operate it very vertically. I don't attack the hair like that. When I go into notch, it's quite vertical. It's not like that, because I'll remove like too much hair, right? So you want to be working with the razor vertically, not like that. Is that making sense? I trust that it does. Fantastic. And really pay attention to my blade as I keep working so that you'll see now that I point that out to you exactly what's going on with that, yeah? Cool. There we go. Now we're back. Now remember, I'm only taking the section I just cut, right? Anytime I do any notching, I don't want to notch the underneath. That's double texturizing, right? And then I lose my intention, right? Okay, here, I'll give you a fancy one right now. See, I'll hold it like this. Take my clip. See it? See how it's anchored in my fingers? But again, don't try that one right out the gate. All right? Pro tip. It's a little tricky. And again, that's that moment where actually the heel of it can actually wind up hitting your thumb. I have done that. There's so many. Every single thing, I've nicked my wet fingers in every single manner with this. In fact, here's a little tip actually too, which is going to sound funny, but when I think about it, this is something that I've recommended to many students. You want to know what? Whatever finger like these where I'm cutting against, right? I swear, pre-bandage them before you even start cutting. You're gonna hit your finger, just so you know. You're not used to it, so it's fine. You know what I mean? And I gotta tell you, if you put the Band-Aids on it before, it's a little bit more footloose and fancy-free. If you're a little bit harder on yourself, then I guess leave it unbandaged, and then you'll learn through pain, I suppose. I'm open to that. Do you know what I mean? But that's a little thing that you can do as well, yeah? Cool.
Pro
All right.
tip.
Yeah, pro tip.
Number 20.
Number 20. All right, and the next section. Boom. There we go. Now I'm going to start moving into just, now that I'm at a little bit no, I'm going to do it because of the density, right? I'm going to start lifting it a little bit off the head so that I can start creating a little bit of the horizontal graduation. I'm not going to create a lot because the thing that happens is you move up the head and widen the stroke. That in and of itself creates a certain graduation because it sits in, all right? So I don't want to go big or go home because the widening of the stroke is creating that to a great degree. But again, I want to add in a little bit of the principles of horizontal elevation so that you can play around with it if you so choose. Cool. As you can see, there's my guide right there. I can see the darkness behind it. There, feet stay stationary. Now look at the angle of my finger, right? There, because remember, I don't want to create a hole behind the ears, even if, so the elevation will go like that. Up, down. Off the head, fingers depth. Off the head, fingers depth. So that I can actually maintain the length and my line behind the ear. Now again, there. See how I slice out the section I just cut? There we go. Little notching in the center. And I notch less as I move to the ear area. Can you see more, less, less, less? And then finally, least. See, and I can already start seeing the shape sit in. See how you're seeing that? Nice softness. What is this? There you go. Yeah, I'll do that with a person too. Now she's like, yeah, that's it. Manufacturer default. You know what I mean? There we go. All right, boom, there. As always, I always want to make sure that my sections are on point. Sectioning will always be the roadmap to your haircut. So I'm always conscientious of that, because that sloppy section, sloppy haircuts, razor or scissors. Quote me on that. Right there, boom. See, I have a little bit of the other side with me. See how my fingertips were lower than my knuckles were initially? And then, boom. What did I just take? See that? A little bit less, a little bit less. And I'm also looking for density, right? When you're doing this, you're equalizing out density. It's one of the coolest things about the razor. Remember, we have length balance and then we have density balance. When it comes to the razor will actually allow us most aggressively and effectively actually equalize out those density balances as well, which is a huge, huge tool, yeah? Still have the head down, because I find that I have a little bit more control right now with it still down, so I'm leaving it down. By the time I'm right above the occipital and connecting to the sides, I'll have it upright then, which is the next section, to give you a little preview of what's going to happen. How exciting. Okay, great. So, all right.
I'm excited.
Me too. So, there we go. Boom. I take a little bit of this, neck guide. There. See, I'm not elevating very much. Again, because as we widen the stroke, the hair sits in and graduates itself from that perspective. See the darkness right there? I can see that. That's what that little bit of product is allowing the guide to actually stay stuck to my cutting section. See the tip? This is further off the head in horizontal elevation than the knuckle. See how it's slowly dipping down? It's not like this, it's like this. All right? Looser. There we go. Notching isn't an essential part of this process in related news. It's something that if you have a certain amount of density in an area, you can utilize. It helps add movement and swing to the look. It does a number of different things. Not essential though. You can razor. Oh, look at that, stuck right to my white. There we go. You can razor fine hair. You'll just use a tighter stroke, and you may choose not to notch, right? Because the fine density may not need notching, right? So be cognizant of that and make your choices from that place. And this tool will always serve you, yeah? Remember, when it comes down to it, when we're paying attention, the hair will always be telling us what to do. The only real issue is if we're listening and present to that or not, yeah? And I think that's really important to remember, whether it's with razor or scissors, to be quite frank. But razor just has all these other nuances within it that are a lot more aggressive, that are at our disposal when we utilize it, that operate a lot differently when we're dealing with scissors, yeah? Cool. All right, taking a little bit of the previous so that I know my elevation height, taking a bit of my guide so that I have confirmation of my length, and then dip that hand like that, and then let's let it ride. See, boom, 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 boom. You like the sound effects? Boom, 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 like a helicopter. Boom, 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 right? There we go. Right, and I look at that. There we are. Boom. Nice. Next section. There we go. Slice. Right? Don't double texturize. Okay. There we go. See? Nice line. Got a little movement happening. See how you can see how it's graduating? See, I'm looking at that. That's my little check. You reach technique. Thank God, on point. Yes. Right, there we go. Nothing like doing a video and catching your technique slipping on video. Do you know what I'm saying? Not about it. There we go. I'm going to go like this. And then we're going to lift up the head. Okay. And let's see. Here we go. Are. Again, now since all my yapping, right? Front's got put this down. I got too much crap in my hands with the razor, right? There. Make sure that this front bit is wet. I will be actually doing this on this side, so why don't I just spray this down too while I'm at it? So we won't have to undergo this torture twice. There we go. There you have it. Awesome. Okay, now. There we go. Now, move through here. Now it's all unified. Okay. There, a little bit down. There we go. Now, what's going to have to happen, I'm going to be elevated. By the time I get to here, I got to be at finger's depth because then that's going to connect to the side. Then after that section, I'm able to lift almost like a teardrop so that then I can incorporate the graduation in the sides. But remember, all right around here, I want to be back to finger's depth so that actually I can move into the sides and I can still keep my line. Okay, something to be mindful of. Always pay attention to where you're going in haircutting and in life, actually. Don't just do the thing you're doing in that moment with no anticipation of where you're going. Haircutting is actually a major moment like that, and razor work can definitely be like that. Cool. Okay, so now I am going to have it down a little bit, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, because I want to keep track of my elevation. And the head down or away from us when we're doing our razor work actually really works for us, actually, because of the nature of the tool. It can be difficult to actually execute our technique accurately without moving actually the client's head around quite a bit. I'll say that I move my client's head more when utilizing a razor than I do with shears. generally speaking, so that I have more room to operate and actually do my technique. Yeah, cool. There, there. Okay, now check this out. I'm gonna move around the head. See, I'll move it a little bit like that, and a little away. Saw that? All right. Then, thank you. You just answered for everyone watching the video,
Sorry.
Una. Thank you.
It's fascinating.
Right, there, there. See, now I'm looking at where my line is. Right, I got it. That's where I'm going. All right, there, and then here. See how, there. Now, to compensate for the ear, clearly or not so clearly, there's no tapping because you can't cut on the skin, right? So, the way I operate this is I'll comb, okay, let me start again. There's always a part here, and you could try it right now if you're watching it and you got somebody else in your house. Do this a little bit with this hair, and you'll always see, just like this mannequin, this isn't a mannequin thing. This is a hair thing for whatever reason. It always separates a little bit, and you'll see what wants to be in front of the ear and what falls over the ear, all right? When it separates, this wants to fall in front. There, get out of the way. Then what falls behind or wants to ultimately be over the ear, where I need to be conscientious of because of potentially the hole because of the ear situation, I will take that hair and I over-direct it back to incorporate into the line here. All right? And this over-direction will allow me to actually compensate for that ear and avoid a hole. Now, I'll take the front bit, and that I'll incorporate into the line too. And remember, now I'm creating line, so I want to make sure that my stroke is slight so that I can actually, there, right? So that I can actually maintain the quality of the line and the discipline, yeah? All right, now remember too, here I did some notching. I don't want to not notch here because then this will fall really heavy on top of what I texturized before or notched before, right? So I got to stay consistent. That's thick right there anyway, right? See, less, 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 less. And for the front bit, I'm going to do none, right? Because I'll do that in the next section that'll unify everything. And see, I just touched my finger with that stupid razor and you already see what happened. All right, so just heads up. It's fortunately just the slightest little, like it literally just like that. And here you go. Just so you realize the power and profound sharpness of this tool. Cool? Cool. Me too, Lord. You see what I'm saying? There we go. All right. I'm trying to get this in the right place for my camera woman, Una, to hold it down.
Sorry, guys.
You know what I mean?
A lot of neck shots.
A lot of neck. It's all right.
Here and there. But
the gold is there, Una.
yeah. Get in there. You can really see what you're doing.
There we go. Looking for balance on the other side. So let's see here.
I see the piece from the other side.
Right, there you go, right? Now remember, see? There, see? Boom. Every time. Works every time. There. Incorporate into where my back line is. See? And I can see it. There you go. There. Now I swing this into position. It is a Christmas miracle. And this is also important. So before I move on and really, see, not bad at all, everybody. See, I still got it. I'm not not legit trying to teach a razor. So when I'm thinking about it, before I unify back to front, I'll always, which I didn't do, I didn't show you it, I was trusting, right? Is I'll always check those outside balances. Because those outside balances are going to determine whether the front is going to be balanced. So before you incorporate the front, be sure that you're checking your back balances on the outside to make sure that sets you up for success through the front. Okay? Very important. All right? Sorry, I neglected to do that in the action, but I was feeling very trusting and I was feeling fancy, so I didn't, I suppose. But here we are. There, remember, get a little bit of notching because I did it on the other side. We always want to remember what we're doing so that we're staying consistent with our technique. Now, mind you, and this is also a tricky thing, okay? Because there's consistency, but remember, when you're trying to create consistency doesn't necessarily always mean like notch at the exact same amount here as over there. Like, where's it denser? Remember, what are we trying to do, right? We're trying to equalize out density. A side may be less dense than another. You may notch a side more than another side. All right? Don't go for like 3 strokes here and 3 strokes here. Go for break up density, break up density, break up density, and then break up density, break up density, break up density, and maybe an extra bonus, break up density. All right? Depending on what's needed. Again, be present and focus with what's going on so that you're actually giving the hair what it needs, yeah? All right. See, and like right now, see, I can see the way the hair is falling out of the head. See, and this is that unique thing about the razor. I can move with it. All right. If I need to adjust something, I can adjust something. I can allow for a little bit more grace or room or less tension in an area if there's a growth pattern. I can cut with the growth pattern. I can cancel out a growth pattern by cutting against the growth pattern. There's a lot of really cool things that the razor can do because of the nature of the tool. All right? Cool. And we continue on with the journey. Guide. See how my elevation keeps changing with my finger angle? See that? Do you see higher elevation here, lower elevation here, yeah? See how my stroke gets less as I move to the front? Remember, I have how many sections underneath this? This is my second section. See how my knuckle is tilted in? There you go, right? And a little bit wider stroke. Did you notice that? Right, a little bit. Not too much though, because the one thing about these first 2 sections, I want to be pretty pretty cool with it. You know what I mean? I don't want to be too aggressive because the front has half as much hair density real estate as the back. I definitely don't want to be like, oh, on the second section, saying, hold a minute, like we got a line, like what are we doing, right? So really be cognizant of that. And again, that's dependent on the head of hair that you're cutting, yeah? All right, now I'm going to notch. Remember, I take just what I cut, no double texturizing. The other thing that you will learn, which is an amazing thing about the razor, is you will learn how to identify areas of weight when the hair is wet, which is a huge, huge tool, even with scissors. This was really when I was able to see. For the longest time when I was initially, when I first got on the floor, I was texturizing a lot of stuff. Then I learned about changing my elevation, so I didn't need to blend in weight lines. Great, right? Then I would always see areas that were dense, but then I couldn't really determine whether they were dense or whether I couldn't really see it when it was wet when I was doing my scissor work. Then I got turned on to what the razor could do. And that's when I start seeing, see how soft that shape is? I'm sorry, I just have to give myself a moment. See that? That's a beautiful, nice, soft shape, right? There you go. And razor does aesthetic like that. Scissors, it's not that you can't do it, but it looks different and it responds differently to what you're doing. And it's not, you're kind of doing many acts in one movement. When scissors, you would have to have a sectioning time and a this time and all that, right? And a texturizing time. And what are we doing? And, right? When it's all kind of happens all at once when it's with the razor. There we are. And that being able to see those, it allows you to work smarter and not harder, even with scissors. Because then you can see, great, I know I need to go back there when it's time to texturize, or I need to change my elevation, or maybe I'll do a little texturizing now with it wet. All of these things become possible when you can see it. And the razor was what allowed me that more fine-tuned vision to the wet hair so I could see what was happening with it. Yeah? There, other side, guide. There you go. See, I slice the guide, then I take my cutting section. Now again, remember, see my change in elevations, higher here, lower here. And after, and I mean, I didn't mention it, but it does have a mention here, is once I do that first section through the side and address the ear, well, then I don't have to do that anymore. Now I can just cut through it, right? So it's relevant. I'm sorry I did not bring that to the fore. My necklace is all coming out, looking like Mr. T. All right, great. So anyway, there we go. Boom, there. Now look again. See my elevation? Boom, right? Higher here, lower here. Stroke getting a little bit less aggressive as I'm moving through, right? I still want to make sure I'm preserving that line. That's important. Now, a little notching. And when I'm notching, I'm really looking, Una, bring that thing closer so that these cats can see what I'm talking about. There, right? See, that's thick, break it up. That's not, skip it. That's thick, break it up. That's thick, break it up. That's not, skip it. That's thick, break it up. I see a little bit of thickness right behind it, actually, there. And then this is already broken up. I don't do that. That's what I'm seeing, and that's what I'm addressing when I'm doing the notching, yeah? And I don't want to knot something right against the face because obviously then it'll look like there's a hole against the face, right? So we want to be mindful of that as well, yeah? Okay. All right. We're going to do a little side to side here now, Una. Because now I'm gonna get it rocking, all right?
Already looking rocking.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
I'm glad you're cutting my hair this weekend.
I am cutting your hair. It's true. You know, you get your hair rocking. You know.
I'm very excited.
Oh my goodness. So ridiculous. Right there. Boom. See, all unified. Right? I can see where it's coming out from the root, right? This is where my attention is, yeah? Right? Let me be mindful. So one great thing about a mannequin, you can actually spray a person in the face and then, you know, anyway. All right. There we go.
It's like those Evian bottles that New York.
Yeah, right. Like, yeah, I need a mist,
2
like you're in
decades ago,
Vegas
by
or
the
something.
way.
Yeah, well, you know, let's not age ourselves too much.
Were
On
they
that.
misters?
Yeah, those were misters, like Vegas. Right there, right, boom, there. See, now as you can see, I'm moving around the head more. See, elevation, higher at the fingertips, lower at the knuckle. Higher at the fingertips, lower at the knuckle. See the stroke widening a little bit now through the sides. Now remember, I never want to walk, I never want to be over here because then I'll round the shape. Right? So I still want to keep my body here so that I'm bringing this back to me. And then I don't round it and I can keep my shape and my intention pure, yeah? By the way, I can see people, or I've seen people, I've done it myself actually, if I'm trying to be smarter with it or more efficient with it. Let me not say smarter. There's no smarter. There's just more efficient or less. But that also is dependent on experience. You can notch and then cut the line. I'll show you on the next section actually. For those that want to try it. Okay? You can actually do that. I just find that I do it in separate, it just gives me more control. For those of you that may know me out there, and for those of you that don't, be introduced to probably the biggest control freak you've ever met in your life. And that's why it's like, I want to cut my line now, do my notching now. I want control over everything. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's my situation. However, you can do double duty on it. Let me show you. Even though I don't tend to do this, not even in a salon, not even, I'll separate it even in a salon because I'm just that crazy. That's my thing, right? It doesn't have to be yours, so I will give you the tool if you would like it. Giving everybody a tour of the apartment, Una. All right. There we go. All right, there. Here, check this out. See, but the issue at this moment is if I do it, now look what happens, right? Because ultimately I have the section underneath. I'm actually going to back up what I just said. I'm not going to do that because ultimately in the end I will double texturize it because I'm going to cut my guide section. All right. So actually, let me now, upon thinking about it and upon doing it, that's another reason why I don't ever do this really, is because I'll double texturize. So that's why I'll take the guide so I can create my line, and then on top of it, then I'll do my notching later. An amendment to my initial statement. I forgot who taught me and they did it first. Yeah, and I remember thinking that it didn't make any sense then, so I didn't do it. And I never have. That was it. Sorry about that. So we're clear. Line first, then notching, so that you can isolate the notching in the section that you just cut, as opposed to notching through your guide section and the section you just cut. Okay? Cool. That's the amended statement. As you're working this, it seems there's something that I keep doing with the shifting the elevations within my fingers, where the tips are going one direction or at one elevation and the knuckles are at another. It's something to be really conscientious of, because to do that is going to really like weaken the front and it'll potentially create a hole through there. So again, where are you going? Right? I'm always thinking that. So I start here and I see my fingers like that. So I can see what we call the expanded shape of where I'm going, so I can keep track of where my fingers should be. Ooh, sorry, Una.
Sorry.
Goodness. There, see where my fingertips point to. There you go. See? Perfect example, actually. Look at that. The universe gives you exactly what you need. There you are. Look at that, Una. The sun has come out in the apartment, and my perfect white sheet screen is now destroyed.
We must adapt quickly.
Oh my God.
There's a life process.
Yeah, well, you know. There you go. There you go. And never write against the face like that. That'll be a hole. If I'm going to do any forward graduation or face framing, I'll address it later. Like, I'm not going to make that mistake and be like, oh, okay, I'll get it in the face frame. It's like, you may not. But one thing I'm going to do is I'm not going to paint myself into a corner by then doing that, because I know one place where face framing absolutely needs to be, whether I like it or not, where I did that little whatever nick or that notch. Yeah? Again, I'm always thinking forward, and I'm always being conscious of like, great, where am I going? What am I doing? Why am I doing it? And what do I hope to achieve in doing that situation, so that I don't affect future moves? See what I mean? Very important. Okay, now see, look at that. See, now I'm going to cut this with this more over here. I'm not going to force it to the back. I don't want to live back there. Right? This is a looser look. It's a looser style, more swing, right? Softer. So now I'm really going to honor where it wants to fall out of the head. And I always, if you notice, I keep looking back at those fingers to make, oh, this is important. See, look right here, Una. Go over here so that they can see. See, I don't cut this over here. I bring it back here. Off the face, right? Now these mannequins and that mannequin hair, right? But see, it doesn't round. See, important. That wasn't my intention. If rounding was my intention, then that's great, but it's not. So there you go. This is a great foundational kind of, well, maybe it's a little bit more than foundational because of the various different things I'm trying to combine all in one haircut, which is a very salon-suitable haircut, by the way. I've definitely given this to many clients, made a decent amount of money off this kind of a look, worth noting, right? There's different things. You know what? Let me keep in mind, little preview. I have to do this on a live person so that I can show you the other side of the magic, the more advanced magic of the razor, where you can actually start working with growth patterns. That's another real magic that the razor brings to the table. That, I mean, you can do it with scissors, but not like with a razor. It's really quite elegant the way you can actually do that with the razor. Put that on the calendar, Una.
You got it.
See how I hold myself to that? Even that one little hair, it's like, nope, that's a no. I need that hair, that's it. There, now Una, see how this, come here, see how this is growing out of the hair differently? See, I'll stand in a different place than I would here. See how this kicks out like this? A little bit flatter, so that in that respect, now I'm, again, looking, where's the hair want to go? What am I doing, right? I still want to bring a little bit over, because I need some frame of reference here, along with the guide underneath, so I see that, then... And then see, again, this is so important. It's like if I, there's one thing to, well, there's a lot of things to get out of this, but this one thing is really important. See how I hold it back here? Where's my line? Where's my intention, right? See, I don't chop off my corner, right? Important. All right? And it's time to bring home the graduated in line. Then I'll show you a little layer business. A little bit. I'm not going to go big or go home. Just loosen it up a little bit. Now see, look. See, now I'm on the side. This doesn't want to go back. There. See, where does it want to be? Right there. There, see? Get it into correct position and honor that. This is my top layer. The little trick that I will do is then I switch my comb tension. So see, if you notice, this is the first time I'm using the wide teeth of my comb, actually. There. So it's a little looser, so it allows a little bit more play with this last layer on top. I want to be mindful of it. I won't notch it either, because I don't want to create too many irregularities in this, not for this. And actually, remember, I have the intention of layering, doing a little bit of layering anyway. Right? See, and Una, go over here so they can see this. See, over-directed back. Where is my line? Here it is. And I'm back to this. See? Thank you.
I love it.
Thank you. All right, there we go. Right here. Where are we going with this? See, comb it a little bit. It'll show you where it wants to be. See? Now remember, again, and this is the truth for bobs with scissors, to be honest with you. It's like, do they wear it over here? Probably not, unless they're a supervillain. Like, move it to where it's going to be so that you can actually cut it with the right intention, right? There. That was a little dry, and I must admit, because it was a mannequin, I got a little bit lax, because I know they're not going to yell at me and they're not going to come for a treatment. So we're fine. If that was a person, even that little bit of hair, I would have been like, girl, I need to wet that, especially some piece of hair that reminds you of face. Right? There we go. There, basic shape done. Now let's add a little bit of layer to this situation, and I'm going to show you this because this is the way I learned how to layer hair with a razor. The body mechanic, hand position of it is a little tricky, and that was why I wanted to share it with all of you. All right? So, couple of things. I created more of a A-line shape, although it'll probably sit more square because the front will pop up and whatever, right? Because the front will pop up a little bit because it's got half as much hair. Now, because of that, I want the length to actually move forward towards the face, right? So in other words, I'll be standing here when I razor so that I'm razoring towards the face. If I was creating a round shape where it was going away from the face, I would then razor from this side and I would go like this so that it would have a back direction, okay? So for me, because I created a triangular base shape, I'm going to be moving forward so that the swing stays consistent with the technique that I utilized underneath. All right? So, first thing, take a section right through the center. There you go. I have a little bit of the left side, a little bit of the right side. Make sure, let me get a little bit of this back so I know where I've been, so I know where I'm going, right? Very important. Okay, when are you going to stand right behind me, maybe over the shoulder? So, first, when I hold this, I'm going to be holding it like this. Up to the sky. But you see, it's not like this, where I'm like, again, I'm up. I have it more vertically. See the blade? I want to get close to the blade so these cats can see the blade. Like this, not like this. Like this, not like this. Not like this. Like this, yeah? There you go, right? So, all right? I'll start there. See that? That's my little guide, right? And again, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here. I'm not trying to like give her, something crazy. Or not crazy, but heavily layered. But this is the technique. If I could do something heavily layered, I mean, I could go to here and just start layering like that, yeah? All right? Now, next section. And in this instance, I will be over-directing everything to the middle, okay? So everything gets over-directed to that initial section. I am using the Y teeth of my comb because everything is going to, there you go. All right, so I just need a little something right in that mid. And again, I'm just want to show you, the object wasn't to show you a layered bob. It's to show you the body mechanics and the hand position of this so that you can actually create this. You do this on long layers, short layers, shorter haircuts, put it in bobs, whatever the case may be. It'll always work Just remember, which direction do you want it to flow? Do you want it to flow towards your face? In which case you will stand where I am currently. Or do you want it to flow away from the face, in which you'll be on the other side? Now cutting away from the face. Yeah? There. Get that guide back out. You know, if I can too, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but this is really important because I just thought about this because this happened to me too when I was doing this. Another reason why it takes you a minute to figure it out. So I notice I'm just with the blade open, living my life. Okay. Now I also remember a time, Una, get a little bit closer, when I was first learning this. And of course, I always try and be fancy before I'm ready to be fancy, right? That's the way I live. And sometimes it bites me in the butt, and this is one of those times. So I'm like, oh yeah, look at me with my razor, right? I'm still learning, however, over a decade and a half ago. And I comb it like this, and I'm combing, and this razor wasn't in the right position, and I went like this, and it literally went like that, and I cut so much hair. Boy, that was past the notch. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I share this again. While you're learning all of these things, just in between your sections, just close the damn razor so that you don't have any of these unexpected things that, of course, in my life, I tend to need to learn the hard way. I hope I will avoid some of that experience for all of you, okay? But I do remember that. And while I was combing it, I was actually remembering that moment. Until you figure out really the exact way that you need the razor to be positioned, which takes a little bit of time, then the safest bet is to make sure that there. The safest bet is to make sure that the damn thing is just closed, and then you just do your thing, yeah? Until you have it really figured out and truly mastered.
Next video, how did he fix that? Guess we're going short. That's what I want to know.
She had thick hair. Her thick hair fixed it. I was just like, you know what I'm saying? It was like one of those. I painted myself into a corner. And fortunately, it had so much texture in it. That's why she was like, I like razor. I was like, thank the baby Jesus. Because if I ever, it was like, good thing you like that loose look, girl. Because if you wanted something where like, it's like, no. So it all worked out. It was as good of a workout it was going to be. But it was like, ultimately, there was nothing to do, to your point, Una, other than give her a much shorter look. Because that's what wound up happening, right? So there you go. There. All done. All right? I am not going to do any face framing. I'm going to leave this to have some drama in it so we could see it. I like that idea. Maybe I'll use it later. Work on maybe some shorter haircut. Maybe I'll do a razor pixie too on my next tutorial as well. That would be really cool because that's a whole different type of control that you have to do to actually control such short hair. Cool. So I hope this made sense to everybody. I hope you all dug it. I know this video is long, but I hope that the gold is there for you. When I introduced this tool, I have to tell you, especially with this razor, this is a real heavy responsibility. So I really didn't want to be like, oh, and grab the razor. There's so much to be mindful of. I don't want anyone to pick up this tool like it's nothing. This tool is very sharp. The body mechanics to use it are very different than scissors. And that's why this video was on the longer side, because I would be doing all of you a disservice if I just showed you how to cut the razor bob with graduation and some layers and didn't give you all of the little tips on how to actually hold the tool, how to use the tool so that you don't cut yourself and operate it as safely as possible so that you don't all have to make the same mistakes that I made when I was learning how to use this stupid thing. All right?
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Gonna get it all styled up. I'll be right back and show you the finished result. And I'll tell you what, I'm actually gonna make a point to not I promise, you're gonna have to trust me here. I promise I'm not gonna do any edits with any scissors. You're just gonna see straight up like what happened. I'm gonna blow it dry. I'm gonna actually flat iron it too so that you can see the smoothness and the softness that this creates with absolutely no scissor texturizing or other type of scissor refinements. Cool? Cool. See you later. And we're back. And here's the finished Razor Bob. I will admit, I did sneak a little bit of fine tuning, but literally I cut so little to fine tune it. It was all already there. I didn't have to fine tune or tighten up any of the line because of the smaller stroke that I utilized when I was cutting in the line. That's why it actually winds up looking shockingly blunt and quite precise. That wasn't really adjusted with scissors at all. It really wasn't. I looked at a couple of different things, made sure there was no little strays. That's what I will do when it comes down to really adjusting anything with this, because you don't want to cut it first looser with a razor and then tighten it up so it looks like it's done with scissors, right? So that's part of the look. It's part of what the razor brings to the table. So let it do its thing as opposed to that really precise scissor work that we're accustomed to. Let it have a little bit more flow. Let it have a little bit more swing to it and looseness to it when your razor is done. And you do want to make sure that it has a strong, solid foundation so that it will actually have a nice and graceful grow out from appointment to appointment. I know this was a long one, and I hope that you found it super valuable. Like I had said in the beginning, prior to even doing this video, I knew that a major part of it, before I show you, oh, cut a Razor Bob, it's like, yeah, first like hold the tool and don't cut off your finger, right? And I think there's a lot of things that are really important. Really pay attention to the body mechanics that I was utilizing. The tightness or openness of the stroke is super important. And again, really remember, honor this tool. That razor is very, very sharp. Take the time to close in between each sections while you're still learning so that you're strictly learning technique and you're not learning to be fancy too. Break up those two lessons, all right? I hope you dug this. I hope you thought it was super useful. Have fun playing with it. Make these techniques your own. As I always say, you know, this is the jumping off point in your journey playing with this tool and playing with these techniques. Have an amazing rest of your day. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll talk to you all later. Later.